Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show. Welcome in. We are rolling on with our guest series here, Megan, this week. One of my favorite beat mates, Corey Masisak from the Denver Post. Welcome in. What?
I don't know about beatmates.
Yeah, well, you know, we'll move past it. I heard you laugh, and I was like, I'm just going to keep going.
See, I heard one of, and I was like, oh man. So I'm like in the top 9.
How many people are on this?
Well, actually, I just sent our list in for like the PHWA stuff, and for the NHL media directory thing.
Yeah,
I think it was 9 people, 10 people,
9,
right?
yeah.
Counting like Ryan Bolding and like everybody who's like, basically at practice almost every day. It's crazy. We've talked about this before about how I've covered a bunch of other teams. This is by far the largest like media group that I've been in. Like San Jose was 3 people. New Jersey was, well, for half of a season it was 1, but it was also 3 at its height. And Washington was 3 people, like 2 or 3 basically every day. So
see, that's crazy because I feel like I consider us to be like we have a smallish media core, but I guess not.
Yeah, well, I guess it depends on who you compare it to, right?
Right.
But in terms of like American media markets, and like now, way more people cover the Capitals now. Like there's like more kind of like blog type people around, or just more websites, right?
Yeah.
No, I think really, like when I remember, I told people like 2 seasons ago that we had like 7 people in Winnipeg.
Mm-hmm.
And like 11 in Dallas for the playoffs, and they were just like, "Oh my god, that's great!" I mean, like, again, like if the Sharks made the playoffs tomorrow, there'd be 3 or 4 media people on the road with them. So.
Well, and I remember not this past season, but the season before, it actually made headlines that Anaheim did not have a single like credentialed beat reporter, and I remember there being when we went there was a guy who had a full season thing, and I talked to him, and he was like, "Oh, I'd actually normally cover the." Something else, and his outlet was like, they just asked me to come do this because there was no reporters.
Right.
I was like, well, what the hell? No, definitely top 9 for sure.
Okay. I'll take it.
No, but we've got the season coming up, and we figured people are probably sick of hearing Megan and I talk about it, and so we wanted to get some other perspectives. I guess the first question always just, how's the summer been? I know you've been doing a lot of traveling.
Yeah, it's been good. I went home for a couple weeks. Just reminded me that I do not miss I call it the sweat coast now. Like I basically, like I go home, like I live out here for, or I'm out here for 11 months out of the year. And, even when it's hot, like you don't really sweat that much. Mm-hmm. It's very weird. Yeah. You literally spend 2 weeks in like the Northeast or mid-Atlantic or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, I came back to Denver and I had to wash, like I have like 3 hats. I had to wash all of them because they just had like sweat marks on them. Just
wet.
And it's just gross. Anyway, but it's good to see family, whatever. And then, got to go into Montana for a week.
Nice.
Saw some more of Wyoming.
You are a big Montana guy, huh?
I am, yeah. It's funny, like my friends, I had like a group of friends who went with me, and this was like my 4th time in Montana, but I've spent more time there than all of them have. So I'm like the guide or whatever. And I'm like, well, I mean, I know some things, but like so the funniest part was we went and did like a hike, and then we were going to go do this other thing. And I looked at the map and I was like, oh, well, let's just take this road. It'll cut off, half an hour at a time. It ended up being this like crazy, dusty dirt, gravel road. Yeah. And like we drove on it for like 20 miles, and then we get to a bridge and there's just no bridge. Just gone. No, so we had to turn around and go. I was like, "Look, I told you I don't know everything about this place. I was taking a risk here, but I think they actually enjoyed the dirt road thing. We'd start driving, and I didn't even realize it. Like there was 2 cars of people. I didn't. The other guy that was driving was Joe Smith, who covers the Wild, right? Yeah. And I didn't even dawn on me that like I grew up in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania and have lived on back roads, dirt roads my whole life. So I'm just driving along, and then I'm like, oh, wait, where's Joe? Oh, yeah, that's right. He's probably going like 10 miles an hour, freaking out about driving on rocks and dirt. And so, yeah.
That's great.
But, it was good. It was a good summer. So, I am kind of like, I wouldn't say that every year now, and this is like my, 13th or 14th season as a beat writer. Mm-hmm. And I don't get the, this, oh my God, I'm ready for hockey feeling every year. Sometimes I'm kind of like could use another couple weeks off,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But this year, weirdly, I don't think the Avalanche had like a super busy offseason, but I don't know. I'm actually pretty excited for hockey to start. So,
Well, it was such a dud of a way it ended. Like it,
Yeah.
I wasn't. Last year, I felt like I was done when they got knocked out of the playoffs. I was like, you know what? I didn't want to get back on that plane to Dallas. This year, I was definitely. I had more in me.
Oh, absolutely. It was way too early of an exit, hard-fought series, so I think it was 50-50, right? Could go either way, expecting the Avs to advance, and it came too soon, and in a very heart-wrenching fashion. Mikko Rantanen.
We interrupt this program for an important news announcement.
I'm not even going to lie to you guys. Megan and I predicted that this would happen before we even recorded the episode with Corey. The Colorado Avalanche did sign Victor Olofsson to a 1-year, $1.575 million deal to slot in there on that third line and really kind of be a middle six floater for them as injuries and things crop up. This is a player with some really nice upside in the goal scoring department, the production department. He also had a really nice defensive year last year with the Vegas Golden Knights, and you know the Avs are going to be looking for him to keep that going this season. It was a big step for him defensively in ways that maybe we hadn't seen earlier in his career. 30-year-old veteran of the NHL, you're hoping that this is maybe just a new part of his game that importance was stressed on in Vegas, and he can carry that forward coming into Jared Bednar's system that definitely stresses team defense. So we talked with Corey yesterday. The Avs signed Victor Olofsson last night, and we wanted to make sure that we dropped that in right here, not to make it seem like we or Corey were unaware of the Victor Olofsson signing. Now back to your regularly scheduled podcast. I tell the story not often, I have multiple times on this pod, how that third period it started, Nathan McKinnon scores, and you and I kind of started like, what would a win like this really mean? The second line is starting to go. Could they give Winnipeg some problems? We were talking yesterday. We just wanted to start with, now looking back on it, a couple months removed, that first round series, what do you remember? And just kind of what was your takeaway from it coming out?
Yeah, well, I know like years and years ago, a very wise beat writer once told me that you should always root for your team to lose in the second round because before if they, no one gets fired after second round losses usually, and so that makes your off season a little bit easier, and you don't feel like you're dead. I'm sure everybody wants to try to cover like a full cup run at least once in their life, right? But yeah, it was just so weird. Like, I mean, it really felt like, whenever we started talking, like it was like 15 minutes ago, 14 minutes ago in the third period. It's like, I mean, everybody was going to pick them to beat Winnipeg, right? Yeah. Like I think I had written even maybe the day before that whoever wins this game tonight was going to be the betting favorite to win the cup tomorrow, because everybody this kind of happens too. Whenever there's like a big first round series and it's like goes the distance, all of a sudden everyone's like, well, that team, like they've won their hard series. So now they're going to, and yeah, man, that was, I mean, the things that I remember about the series are, they lost the series in, what was it, 2 and 3, right? When they had they should have won either of those games or both of those games. The power play really let them down in those two games. Just the fact that they didn't win the Gabe Landeskog return game.
Totally.
I'm sure there are a few guys on that team that's probably the thing that they're going to remember the most. Like everybody, I mean, players always and coaches always talk about how they remember the worst losses more than their biggest wins. Yep. I'm sure there are guys that are just going to remember that they, like, 25 years from now, there are going to be people who are like, remember that game that Gabe came back and they just beat the crap out of the Stars? And then everyone's going to be like, some people are going to be like, no, actually he came back the game before and they lost.
Right.
And like that's, like game 4 was like, should have been game 3, right? And I think if that had happened, they probably win the series, maybe even in 6, and
you get
keep going and
a couple days off even.
But honestly, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we're going to ask them all about it the first couple days of camp. It's one thing to lose to the same team for like the third time in 6 years. It's another thing to lose in heartbreaking fashion the way they did. But then just you throw in Mikko, and it's just like, man, it's got to be one of the tougher losses for any team to come back from, like literally in the history of the NHL. Now there have been other ones too. Like people were like, well, how do you come back from blowing a 3-0 series lead, right? Boston did that, and they came back and won the cup the next year.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
sometimes they can't come back from this narrative is too much.
Yeah.
But it will be interesting to see how
Tampa getting swept out of the first round kind of thing.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. And then losing to Columbus, and then that kind of setting off the dynasty or whatever. But yeah, it will be interesting to see just how they handle all the questions about what happened. You know, how much have you thought about it this summer? How are you going to put it past you, etc.
Because they really didn't. Miko about it at Nate's wedding.
Yeah, that'll be. I didn't. Let's put it this way. I did not think that Miko was going to be there, but it did register to me like, oh yeah, like obviously these guys are still friends. Obviously they're going to be, but there's also probably still a little bit of rawness about it because it was just a couple months ago. So I'm sure there was like a lot of like, I'm happy to see you, but so.
I found the Sakic McFarland availability at the end of it all kind of interesting because they seemed at a loss themselves in terms of explaining what exactly went wrong. And I'm curious, with the benefit of some time over this offseason to process it, what do you think it boiled down to that went wrong for the Avs?
I think the fact that they didn't win Game 2 or Game 3, right? Like there was, there's like a way to look at it, like from the kind of the overall thing. And I mean, look, the thing that Nate said that night in Game 7, right? That's been like, I've seen that quote pop up like 10 times this offseason.
Right.
Like, if we couldn't beat them without Jason Robertson, without Miro Heiskanen, what are we going to do? Right. And I think in the moment I'm sure a lot of people felt that way. I think if they win Game 2 or Game 3, I don't know if the Dallas has the belief at the end of the series that they would have had necessarily if they were down 2-1 or even down 2-0. I don't know. I think there are definitely playoff series where it's just like this close, right? And it's like not even, like I remember covering the Kings and Sharks, like the Sharks went up 3-0 and the Kings came back and won all the next 4 games. Yep. There wasn't like a lot that went wrong,
right.
Like really, really wrong for the Sharks. They got a couple of bounces early in the series and probably should not have been up 3-0, and then they didn't get a couple later on, and that so I don't know. I mean, like in the totality of the series, if you play it 100 times, the Avs probably win 58, 60, whatever, 55, which is a normal playoff series. Like no playoff series is like, well, they should have won that one 99 times out of 100. So
right.
I don't know. I mean, it's a very weird place for the team to be in, and honestly for us too, because like on one hand, it's like, look, they were one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the league. They absolutely could have won the cup. Yeah. And then there's also, they just blew it in horrifying fashion to their old buddy, and there's really no way of excusing that. And so, like, you have, I think more fans are probably going to be on this side of that than this, and where it's like you still have to like take the rational, like, look, they were right there, and like the fact that Joe Sakic said, I'd run it back with this team if I could, and they basically are. I'm right. I mean, they were their actions this summer were they still believe in this team. And honestly, one of the things. Probably the thing that I took away most from that whole thing after I talked to a few people around the league, like, what do they do now? Like, what do you do? Mm-hmm. And like the one thing that Ray Ferraro said to me that has really stuck with me is, he said, didn't they lose the year that they traded for Ray Bourque? Yep. Right. And so it was like, oh yeah, right. They did. Right. Like if they traded for Ray Bourque, it was like, all right, this is it. They're winning. Yep. And they didn't win. And then they came back the next year and won. And so there is like a parallel where, Chris and Joe basically remade half the roster last year. They didn't win like they thought they might, and then they just come back the next year and are much better or do the thing. So,
and then in 2021 they lose a really tough series to Vegas in which they were up 2-0, and then the next year they come back. And I have seen I think it was Kyle Bukauskas said like he picked the Avs, like kind of tongue in cheek, but he picked the Avs to win next year. He was like, because Nathan McKinnon said, I haven't won shit the year before they won. And this year he came out and said, I don't know what we're going to do. So I think that means, but no, for me, it's Game 2. Just like listening to you talk about, those 2 games kind of being the, maybe the missed opportunity. If you're looking to narrow it down on a moment, for me, it's Game 2, because then suddenly you're coming back home, having just stolen both games on the road. Mikko Rantanen really hadn't made much noise through those first couple games. and then you're getting the Gabe Landeskog boost with a chance to go up 3-0. As crazy and chill inducing as all that pregame was for Game 3, I can't even imagine how much more riled up that crowd would have been with knowing this team can go up 3-0 and essentially, put this series on ice tonight. And that just felt like one where it was, even in that game, you were in the driver's seat for a moment and you just let it get away. And Game 2 for me was the one where Nick Kostanikis, I remember talking to him after, and he was like, they needed that one. They really needed that one.
Yeah.
So much I've seen people in hindsight feel that Landeskog should have played in Game 2 and it would have made a difference in the series. But I think it's a tough sell for me that is the key piece that makes the difference.
Well, and do you think, because this has been heavily debated, do you think that he could have played? Or because I feel like it was part of the plan. I don't think he was ever planning on playing Game 2. What do you think?
I think the concern of controlling matchups in his first NHL game back, being a playoff game, was more important than anything. I think there's a chance he could have played, but they needed to evaluate that when they had more control in the situation, honestly, for his safety. So I think it boils down to that. I think in hindsight, it's easy for me to say he probably could have played, but it wouldn't have been wise for them to have deployed him in Game 2, where they don't have that kind of control over his shifts. And I think similarly, they also lose Ross Colton, and this is where Miles Wood draws in. After having been in and out of the lineup, obviously makes a costly mistake in overtime, but should they have even been in overtime, right? They're not capitalizing on power play opportunities that they should. So where I'm going with this is, I don't think it's as simple as Landeskog should have played Game 2 and they would have won. I think there were other things at play here, including Ross Colton's injury, that impacted the overall result. And I don't think if I could go back in time, unless I knew what I knew now, I would have played Landeskog.
Yeah.
There was definitely a scenario, and again, this is all hindsight. Everyone will say, well, it's Gabe. Look at how he played the rest of the series. You should have known.
Right.
But there was an alternate universe where he comes back in Game 1 or Game 2, plays like 12 minutes, looks really bad, and like they lose because of it, and then it's just like, oh no, now what do we do? Like, do you let him keep playing? Do you have to pull him out for a couple games and let him rest some more? Like, he could have tweaked, so I mean, I don't, given how well they played in the first 2 games, I don't really even know you can say like, oh, like they needed Gabe, like they just needed to, get one more bounce here or there, or not do a couple of things in Game 2, and
Well, and I remember feeling, I actually felt bad for Miles Wood because I felt like he had actually played a decent game drawing into the lineup.
I agree.
And then he made a really bad mistake in overtime.
And that's what I think is the consequence of having a player like that in and out of the lineup and not really getting consistent reps, is I think it lends itself to that type of mistake in OT, because his game in regulation wasn't bad and it was helpful. But I think, without getting too into the weeds of it all, because we'll go into that with the offseason conversation, I just think overall that third line, as constructed without Ross Colton, wasn't enough.
It was supposed to be, can Gabe Landeskog draw in for Joel Kiviranta to complete this third line? Then suddenly it turned into...
And a Ross Colton should have been there.
Right. But okay, so like you said, they more or less are choosing to run it back. A couple, Jonathan Drouin, you can't keep around. You have to attach Charlie Coyle to move the Miles Wood deal. But more or less they're running it back. I guess just what are your thoughts on... the more that we've kind of settled into this summer, it's like, I think that was the right move, or the right approach for them to take.
I mean, I think they have spent so much time in recent years just being forced into not doing a lot, because of the salary cap, right? So I think on one hand, you could have looked at this offseason and said, hey, look, they have like real cap space. And then they traded Coyle and Wood, they have even more. And they could have like solved all the problems this offseason, but the solutions weren't necessarily out there either. Like, what I mean? Like it would have been like a really fine needle to thread to like, okay, we're also going to trade for the guy who's going to be our third line center, and we're also going to get another one more defenseman that we need, and et cetera, et cetera. And then you go into the season, it's like, okay, this is it. They go, like, that's not really how it works anymore. Like you look at even Florida the last couple of years, their team wasn't, they a lot. you don't win the cup at the trade deadline, but everybody tries to has to do something
Give it
usually
a
at
last
the
little
deadline.
push.
And so I don't think it was actually like, I mean, I think I had written something right before July 1st about how like this, the fact that they know that they think they know Gabe is good, and he's that. Yes, that means that Jonathan Duran's not going to come back, but it also just gives them more like flexibility, basically, to like not. Like, I mean, I don't know, this is a rambly thing, but like, they're probably not good enough to win the Stanley Cup today, but they also could possibly have like $8 or $9 million in cap space accumulated by the deadline and be able to add like, a really good player.
A real splash.
And now there's the whole like, what are they going to trade to get that? That's another part of this. But I think they're in that group of like 8 or 9 teams that is probably could win the cup with the right breaks and maybe 1 or 2 more moves. I don't think there's any team out there right now that's like we can win today, right? Like there's just no, and it's just kind of where the league is right now. Yeah, probably. But honestly, like even them, yeah, probably, because they did basically bring everybody back. Yeah. But they're also going to be going on now. Are they going to make the cup are they going to make the final 4 years in a row like that with all these old guys, right? So I don't know. It's just a weird point in the league where there isn't, like we've gone through like in like the last 15 years there was like the Chicago era, and then there was like the second run for the Penguins, and then there was the Lightning, and then there was supposed to be the Avalanche, and like this past 4 years now, really, it's like it's the same teams every year that are good, and they're all about the same, and there's just no like definitive like at no point last year was anybody like, yes, the Panthers are definitely winning again. For sure. I mean, like by the second round of the playoffs, it was like, oh yeah, the Panthers are winning again. Right. But like
they finished one point ahead of Ottawa.
Yeah, they were much more of a dynamic, scary regular season team 2 years ago. Like I remember, like I mean, he beat the crap out of the Avs that one game, and it was like, whoa, this is serious stuff. And they just like that whole season, it was like, man, this is probably the best team. But it's kind of the same. It just feels like we're running back the same. Like the last couple of years, it's like there's Florida and maybe Tampa and maybe Carolina, and then there's like 4 or 5 teams in the West, and they're all basically the same. And I think honestly, like I think maybe part of it is because 2022 happened here, where the Avs did put together this like Terminator and just steamroll everybody. Like I remember thinking that my first year here was like, I wonder if these players even like Nate and Kale and them, I wonder if they're even like spending too much time trying to compare themselves to the 2022 team when they don't need to beat. There is no 2022 Avs anymore.
Right.
Like there hasn't been a team as good. I don't even think the Florida has been as good as
I agree.
that 2022 team. So you don't need to be that good, and that's the bar. But anyway, I'm just saying, like I think fans expect maybe because of 2022 they think there's like one magic move out there, or just get everybody healthy at the right time and don't have Val go away, and then they'll just be 2022 again. I don't think that's going to happen. But I also think like if you look at the Penguins, like 2009 never really happened again for them. They just tweaked the roster enough and won 2 more times with like kind of the same core but a different set of outer core guys, and they figured it out.
Well, and to your point about like the moves that they've got to make, and this is something that Megan and I have talked about, is like they're such different moves than what we were talking about this same time last summer, where it's like, well, who's going to be your 2C?
Yeah.
Who's going to be your goaltender if Georgiev can't? It's like, you need some third line wings, 7th D if you don't want Keaton Middleton back there firing slap shots 4 feet wide. And like those are much more palatable problems to have to be addressing.
It's weird. I mean, yeah, you're right. Like I guess it might depend on how you feel about Brock Nelson.
Yes.
Like I think if you had told Avs fans on what is today, August, whatever of last year, hey, from February until the next year and the year after, Brock Nelson is going to be your number 2 center. Like that's going to be the guy. And given where things have been the last couple of years, they would have been like, oh, actually, they might have been like, wait, what happened to Casey? Yeah. That's true, right? So I guess at this time last year, people did feel pretty good about Casey. But Brock Nelson is a different type of player. He's bigger. He has tons of playoff experience, whereas Casey had almost none. And so, yeah, you're right. I mean, they need a third line center. Like Or I mean, it's possible that Jack Drury like just kind of has his like moment this year and figures out that he can do it. But yeah, they probably need one more center. They have a bunch of guys like Ross Colton and Parker Kelly can play center, but that's also like they're more like November centers, not May centers. I guess that seems to be. It seems like the Avs have had one of those the past couple of years, right? But yeah, and I honestly like. I mean, how does Brett Burns fit? And what are they going to do with the fact that they have 4 righties and Keaton? I also, I mean, whenever the first handful of times we saw Keaton Middleton play, it was like, oh man, is he Curtis McDermott, right? Is he just here to like punch some people in the face? And like, I mean, would you want to have Game 7 of the conference finals with him on the lineup? Maybe not, but I do think that like, I think they see like some real improvement in him from 2 years ago to this year. And so again, like this is, if you're worried about your number 7 or number 8 defenseman versus who's number 5 going to be, that's a big difference. Yeah.
How do you feel about 5 and 6 for the Colorado Avalanche, and who do you envision that to be?
Oh yeah, actually, my boss just asked me that yesterday, and I think there's a world where Sam Girard and Brent Burns are like peanut butter and jelly.
I do think world.
I think given the way that Sam likes to carry the puck and the way that I kind of remember Brent playing, more so in San Jose, I didn't see a ton of him in Carolina, but he is more of like, if you think of like a soccer field, he's more of like the like deep lying midfielder. He's like the defensive midfielder at the back. Yeah. And Sam is more of like the guy who goes like box to box. So I kind of see that as like, man, I think that could work. The 2 issues are, do they want to play Brent Burns that much? I mean, I'm sure he wants to play 25 minutes a night. He's done that his whole career. But like, do they want to play him more, let's say, at even strength than Josh Manson? And then also, do you want your third pairing to be Josh Manson and Sam Malinsky, and which one of those guys has to, like, it's weird. Like, I think of the 3 righties that are, one of them has to play on the left side. I think Burns is probably the most, well, he has the most experience. I think if Sam Malinsky could do it, then you just do it, because he's the youngest and most mobile of the 3, etc. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, obviously that'll be like one of the first few days of camp. Like, what is Jared going to do with these 4 guys? I do think that Girard and Burns, because the other thing is, like, it's been kind of a recurring theme the last couple of years where Girard and Manson are both very good hockey players. They're both paid the right amount of money, or even a little bit less than what they probably should be getting for what they do. But sometimes it just doesn't work between the 2 of them, and it seems like it should, like offensive guy, defensive guy. Just sometimes it just doesn't work exactly right. So I would be surprised if we don't see Girard and Burns at some point, just to see what it looks like.
For sure. I hadn't thought about that combination at all.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like it a lot, and I'm nervous about Manson Malinsky.
I really like Sam Malinsky. I think he's going to take a big step this year. He's going to take a big step this year.
Really speaking to the complementary fit of each player together, and just in looking at who Bednar has tried Malinsky with, I've seen him with Girard and I've seen him with Taves, and maybe some of that was not wanting Manson and Malinsky, 2 righties, needlessly together, but just nervous. I'll believe it when I see it. I like both players, just don't know if I like them together.
And it won't surprise me if we do get like Keaton Middleton and Josh Manson together against certain teams early in the season, just as a, see what they, and honestly, like, we still have a couple weeks before camp starts. There are still at least 2 left-handed defensemen out there that, if I were running the team, I would certainly be interested in inviting to camp to see what happens. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think they may still be looking for a left-handed number 5-ish defenseman again for the 3rd straight year or whatever at the deadline, but it'll be more of like we're rounding out things, not like, oh man, we need it. I think Ryan Lindgren was like a we need it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like they really needed him or somebody like him, and even Sean Walker. I guess he's righty, but whatever. But like that, it didn't. It feels like their defense could be complete right now, but if they could upgrade it, that would be better.
I do also wonder about the Gagne kid that they signed yesterday out of UNH, 6'5" lefty. They gave Sam Malinsky a look in his first full year pro. I just wouldn't be surprised to see them try it, just to see what he looks like, depending on how he starts. With the Eagles.
I don't know, but I was intrigued. I'm not intrigued enough to pencil him into an NHL lineup, but I'm intrigued enough to point out that some of his defensive metrics that I didn't even know they tracked at the NCAA level were kind of interesting in his own end in terms of like blocked passing lanes, blocked shots, obviously, stick checks. They were tracking all this, and he's in the top 10 in these categories in his own end. So a strong defensive player that also QB'd their power play as well, has a heavy shot. Huge player. Huge. So I think those defensive metrics, seeing that, sold me a little bit more on what he is and being a defensive defenseman. But I'll stop short of putting him in an NHL lineup tomorrow.
You covered Brent Burns.
I did.
I remember you told us about 24 hours before they signed him, you said, I would love Brent Burns here. I don't know if you guys would love him, but I would love it here. What's it like covering him? What are we in for this year?
So okay. So I'll preface this by saying I caught him like at the tail end of his time in San Jose when the ship had sunk, right? And it was like going towards the bottom of the ocean. And so there were some veteran players there that just weren't happy, right? Like they had been great for years and years and years, and now they were, they hadn't actually, his last year, they hadn't actually committed to this where they're at now. They were still trying to win, and they couldn't win, which to me, if I were a player, I think I'd rather be on a team that knows it's going to stink than be on a team that thinks it can still scratch and claw and ends up stinking. Like they were, so, he was often not in a very good mood. I think I will say this. This is the reason why I said that is, he has some days where he'll be like the most insightful guy in the locker room, and he's like really fun to talk to, and he's great. And then he'll also have days where he's just like kind of ornery, right? That would be a good way to put it, right? So I think, and I think I'm interested to see like how, like as an example, because I'm old, and I have these examples to pull from. Mackenzie Blackwood is a very different person to deal with the media now than he was in New Jersey. In New Jersey, he was just kind of like a goofy kid. He was kind of like, you talk to him and he'd kind of be like scatter shooting all over the place. And now he's like older and mature and focused and he's a good interview. And it wasn't that he was bad in New Jersey. He's just different, right?
You laughed at that.
I laugh because he's still really silly to me.
Well, okay. But it's like
it's
like
mature?
It's like it's in levels, right? Like he was like, I mean, he was, when I say like, there were definitely maybe some older players in New Jersey that were like, this kid needs to get it together, or he's not going to have a career level of goofball. Whereas that's not. I mean, now he's it's like he was here and now he's here. Maybe he's not like, up here with Nate and Kale and all those guys, but no, I mean, so I do think that Brent, like it, I mean, I saw him in Carolina a couple times. Obviously, like most specifically, like I was in their locker room right after they traded for Mikko, right? Like I'd gone to see Mikko on Long Island, and he did seem like it's one thing to be like the old guy, veteran leader who's been on the team for 12 years. Then you go someplace else and you don't have to deal with that anymore. I mean, like you can be, but you don't have to be. Like you can just kind of like settle in. Like I'm sure even Brock Nelson feels that a little bit too, where he doesn't feel like he has to be one of the leaders on the Avs. He can be, but he doesn't have to be. So I think that could probably help Brent too. Also, I just think he's going to love it here. Like just like speaking from experience, you live over on that, you come here and then you're like looking at the mountains every day, and it's like, and I do think the two things I'm most fascinated with Brent are him and Nate going to be like, which part of Step Brothers are they going to be? Like, are they going to be like, do we just become best friends, or are they going to be like, trying to kill each other? And then also, yeah, right. Like they're, and then also like, I think Bo Byron was a big hunter, right? But he's, as far as I know, he's like the only guy who was like a big time hunter. Yeah. So now Jared has like a hunting buddy too on the team. So we'll see how that goes too. But
do you have any insight on the backpack?
A little. I know. I need to actually look up. I kind of want to do like just like a Google search and see. I know people have tried to write about it, like at different points.
And they all go missing. When they
Yeah,
start
yeah,
about
right,
it.
right. Yeah, no, I mean, I know. Look, he's got like a full like individual coffee maker in there. I've seen him like actually pull that out before. It's not I forget which kind it was. That was like 3 years ago. Anyway, yeah, it's I don't think it's like. I feel like the myth of it all has kind of like maybe even surpassed the whole
What's
like,
actually
well,
in
yeah,
there,
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
he just had. I mean, I think the fact that it's so big and he looks almost like Goofy, like like all these guys are like carrying these like little bags on the trip, and here comes Brent with this big giant military backpack on his rucksack or whatever on his back. But I think the coffee maker is probably the thing that takes up the most space and is the biggest thing. So, I don't, and then there are like other players take like PlayStations or Xboxes with them on the road. So but yeah,
Like you said,
he's really into coffee. He's really into his like his fitness and recovery stuff.
That's what we guessed.
The one thing that's the
Recovery.
thing that with him and Nate that's interesting to me is they both love being on a bike. It's just that Nate does the stationary bike thing after games, whereas one of Brent's big off-season training things is he just rides his like outdoor bike.
Interesting.
Oh.
In like the 100-degree heat in Texas, and that's a big part of his off-season
That's
training is like
interesting.
there's like where his ranch is in Texas, there's like some hills, maybe some like smallish mountains over there,
Yeah.
and so he just does like a lot of mountain biking
Yeah.
as part of his off-season stuff. So
See, I think the the work ethic is going to resonate with Nate a lot. Like I
Yeah.
think they're going to get along because we're even seeing the videos of him already out getting in some good work at family sports. I think that's going to resonate between the two.
With Keaton Middleton.
Right? Yeah.
no, I do think I think there was also probably a point in Brent's time with San Jose where the turn had started, like he had the turn from I'm one of the 10 best defensemen in the world to I'm not that anymore.
Yeah.
That started to happen, and like those guys, I mean they're all proud, but I'm sure he is like among the proudest because of how much he's played, how much like he prides himself on playing 82 games and playing 29
Right.
minutes if he needs to a night or whatever. So like I think there was times where he was really frustrated in San Jose where it was like, wait, I made that play 3 years ago. Or that didn't happen. What's going on? Like I'm guessing there's probably some of that has probably like kind of filtered its way out to now where he's like, now he knows like I'm 40 and this is what I do well.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I can't. So I don't know. He's also just an interesting player to watch play defense because he looks like a pterodactyl out there sometimes. Like his stick is so long and he's big and he does like I know like here, right, the thing with EJ was like the dive thing,
Yeah,
right? Sorry,
yeah.
I sound like an idiot, but like the diving
The
on the 2-on-1
slide,
thing.
yeah.
The first time I saw EJ do that and I saw you guys all talking, I'm like, oh, that's what Brent Burns does.
Really?
Like, so I don't know. So he was the first person I saw do that like with any regularity.
Yeah.
But there is just a lot of like, I don't know how to describe it exactly, but just a lot of sweeping motions with his giant stick.
Yeah,
that,
it's
like,
a long reach.
that end plays. So that's sort of a, and I the other thing is I don't know where he's really going to fit on the power play, right? Like, but there's probably going to be a spot for him somewhere. To me, the interesting thing is he's always played at the top. Mm-hmm. And the thing that like one of the things that he's one of the best ever at is shooting for sticks. Like, I mean, him and Joe Pavelski were like just crazy at
Nails,
Pavelski tipping his point shots. And whenever I was in San Jose, I used to always call it like his looks more like a stinger to me, like a golf shot. Like it's like low line drive instead of, he doesn't like take like a big huge slap shot. It's like a little thing. Anyway, I don't know. I mean, but like they have, Makar and Taves, and they've been running the power play here for years and years. So maybe, I mean, he does have a pretty big shot. So maybe he does end up as like in almost like the Ovechkin spot on the second power play or something. But
I mean, they're not afraid to put more than one defenseman out
right,
there.
certainly.
Yeah, they've tried the 3D. Didn't love it, but I think in seeing the success of Florida's second unit on the power play, maybe the Avs with a new coach running the power play will give some consideration to that second unit if it has Brent Burns on it and it's effective.
New coach, Dave Haxtell. Again, I want to preface what I'm about to say. I think the Avs, as an organization, still love Jared Bednar. I think he's a very popular guy in that office. I don't think anyone's in a hurry to get rid of him, but this definitely did feel a little bit like there's a guy right here.
Yeah.
If break glass in case of emergency, and there's a little Dave Hackstall inside the glass.
I could see that because like whenever I think Ray Bennett was very popular too. Like I don't know, I've never heard any player say anything like even remotely, like even in a joking manner, bad about Ray. But when you fire the power play guy because the power play wasn't good in the playoffs, I almost expected them to hire a power play guy, like somebody who was like, oh man, this guy ran this power play in 2017 and it was the best in the league, or what. So like, and for example, like even when Dallas's power play, whenever they fired DeBoer, Steve Spott's been with DeBoer forever. It was like, oh well, maybe they're gonna go. He's run Dallas's power play. So I mean, I'm which is a way to say like, yeah, they hired a guy who has head coaching experience, so that anytime it's like, instead of getting like an up and coming power play whiz, they got a guy who has a head coaching experience, which is different. I can't really say like, oh man, like the power play that Dave Hackstall ran when he was an assistant in Toronto was some sort of revolutionary thing or anything, but it was good. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's definitely, that was another thing that's whenever you like meet with your boss about the start of the season, that's one of the main topics that will be like, well, what if, where's Jared Bednar? Is he on the hot seat? Like, well, what if they don't win this year? Does it, so I would say there should be very little like of that right now. Because they, and conversely, like, I know that they did win one more time, but like the Lightning have won 4 playoff games in the last 3 years. It's like since the Avalanche beat them, like it feels like that doesn't really register like on like the national level nearly as much as, Colorado getting beat by Mikko Rantanen with a third period 7-game 7 hat trick. So but again, I do remember thinking after the season ended last year, when we were sitting there waiting for Chris McFarland to like say we had to get rid of a good man today, and it was like, oh no, okay, Ray Bennett. Did I just try to do the Ross Colton thing? That was weird. I remember coming away from that day thinking, well, they shouldn't start next year 6-15 or 6-20 or whatever. Like I think, and honestly, like there aren't that many coaches. If any, like if the Lightning start this year 6-15 or 6-20 or something crazy, John Cooper's probably getting fired. Like that's so that's not really like a aha moment or anything. It's just they just get off to a normal start. Last year it was weird because of all the injuries and foul suspension. So like I think if they just have like a normal start to the year,
and goalie,
problems. and they have goalies, I think it'll be. I mean, and then you get to the end of the season and. If they go out early again, I'm sure the temperature will be there. That'll be just a conversation that'll just, and I'm sure he knows that too. It's like, I mean, only a select few number of NHL coaches get to last even this long in one job. Right. Yeah. And so like, it was Jared and John Cooper and Mike Sullivan. Well, I mean, Mike Sullivan won twice with Pittsburgh, but eventually it just comes to an end. So.
Do you have any insight into Hackstall as a coach? I've heard different things about that first year in Seattle, really connecting with his players and then kind of losing the room near its end, and some of maybe his style as a coach impacting that.
Yeah, I've heard. I'm trying to think. Seattle. He was also in Philly, right? I've heard that he can be pretty hard on his players, right? And I think that's pretty similar, like Pete DeBoer, right? Like,
right.
I mean, I'm not saying that Dave Hackstall is Pete DeBoer, but just in style, like any coach that's like really hard on their players, eventually that you either keep winning or that either even like or in Pete's case, even if you do keep winning, it still wears off on people eventually. So but I don't know. I'm pretty interested to reach out to some people in Toronto and find out like what was he like as an assistant,
right? Because
it is very different. Like. John Tortorella is a different coach whenever he's an assistant coach than whenever he's, the guy in charge. So, I don't know. It's definitely, it's interesting because they had the same two guys for so long, and they haven't had like a former NHL head coach, like somebody who's been through those types of experiences on Jared's bench ever before.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think so.
I'm trying to remember what the staff was his first year before. But anyway,
it was Andre Tournier, who then became a head coach, and oh shit, it was one of other Patrick Waugh's other So no
to
answer your
answer,
question,
yeah. So I mean, I do think that brings an interesting / different dynamic to the room, but I honestly don't know if that's really like going to change things too dramatically
as an assistant.
So I wasn't originally going to talk about this, but so Dallas bringing Glenn Gulletson back is like the most NHL thing of all time. But I want to just park a second and talk about Pete DeBoer. Did you cover him in San Jose? No,
or in well, I mean, I've been like around him during playoff series, right? Like he, I covered the cup final that he got to in New Jersey before, but it is weird. I have covered the two of the places where he had lots of success, and the fan bases there didn't appreciate the success they had with him. We're happy to see him go, and then said, "Oh shoot, can we have that success back?"
Well, and so that's what I wanted to just talk about real quick. Because again, like you've seen him in different stops. We've obviously covered him the last 2 years now, in these series. And the Avs have a lot of experience with Pete DeBoer, but it really is just such an interest. Because again, like every time that matchup comes up against Jared Bednar, Pete DeBoer's such a better coach than Jared Bednar. It's like this is like his fifth team. His next shot will be like his fifth team since Jared Bednar got hired.
Yeah.
And it's just such an interesting dynamic because obviously there's something there that he does really well. Mm-hmm. To me, it feels like he lets emotions get the best of him. That's maybe something Jared Bednar is. People get critical that he doesn't get emotional enough. Yeah. But like, how is it that a guy like Pete DeBoer, with as much success as he's had, is on like his third straight stop where it like it really like burned out. Like we need to move on from this.
Yeah, and it is kind of interesting. I mean, I think part of it is just that, like I said, the players just sort of they buy what he's selling. He gets results, and then at some point, the players are like, "No, we don't need you to yell at us about that for the 34th time or whatever." Right. But I mean, the one thing with him too, I think Pete is probably like a pretty unique case, even in NHL history, where like he is unquestionably one of the best coaches in the league. Mm-hmm. But then there's also like he's never won the cup, and would you really want him to like, you certainly wouldn't want him to coach a certain type of team that you have. But I don't know. I mean, the one thing that I saw from last year that I hadn't really thought about it kind of stuck with me was one of the guys in Chicago had mentioned on social media, like, when everybody talks about Pete's Game 7 record, right? It's just like crazy, unique / just, I'm sure there was a couple in there that were just kind of fluky, but someone there pointed out that, Joel Quenneville never coached in Game 7s because his team's always won in 6. And there is, not to defend Joel Quenneville in any way, shape, or form, but that team, I spent like 3 postseasons in a row being around that Blackhawks team, and it was crazy to see them get to 2-2 in almost every series and then just roll through Game 5 and Game 6. That was like their thing. At one point they had won like 12 or 13 straight Game 5 and 6. Just crazy. They were just the ultimate closer. And yeah, I do think that some of the stuff that maybe happens in the middle of a series when Pete is the coach might lead to them getting to Game 7 more often. And then, as we've seen, outside of really the 2014 Los Angeles Kings, playing in too many Game 7s eventually does get you, right? Like that was even the, and I covered Bruce Boudreau when he was the coach in Washington, and this was a thing there too, where everybody loved him. They had crazy amounts of success, but then they didn't win enough in the playoffs, and eventually the arrow started pointing to him being too emotional on the bench. You got to be, like, even people behind the scenes there were like, man, he's too emotional, like even in between games, and so it's just kind of, I don't know, everybody kind of has their thing, right? Like, John Tortorella won the Stanley Cup being the most emotional guy in the world, and then he also has had very not much success since then, or not enough, and maybe that's been part of it.
I just like watching him pull Jake Ottinger in that moment. I was like, what in the hell are you doing? because I told Megan, like, I didn't think there was any way, like, even if Dallas came back and won that game, now you're in an even, like, trickier situation of what do I do next? And yeah, I just wanted your opinion, because I know you'd covered him, to some extent in New Jersey and all that stuff, and it just seems to have a very similar crash and burn every time.
It seems to boil down to impulse control. He's really disciplined otherwise, and then he snaps.
Well, and it's just it's decisions that, and then we actually just, I think last week we were talking about the Game 7 stuff, where it's like, that's a good team, but you eventually get to a point where it's just like it's not a group made up exclusively of young guys. There's a lot of your core, a lot of the guys you're banking on production are older dudes, and they played 15 games by the time you get to Game 2 of the conference finals.
Yeah,
it's like, holy shit. I'm just gonna do it. Kiviranta.
Yeah.
So Megan and I did our show right after. We both made the argument. If I'm looking at Yoel Kiviranta on this contract by itself, nice, good bit of business. We were talking earlier. The Avs still have a third line that they need to solve. We just thought it was weird timing. Not that bringing Kibby back is bad, but like it was a running joke last year. Like, oh, playoff Kibby showed up tonight, because he really struggled up until the playoffs 2 seasons ago. Then it felt like this past season was kind of like the inverse.
Yeah, I was really surprised, honestly. Like, he scored 16 goals and has been like a trusted guy in the playoffs for 2 different Western Conference powers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just surprised that he didn't get more, honestly. Like, I really, whenever the offseason started, I probably would have said, I bet he gets like around 1.5, or he gets like a 3-year deal. Mm-hmm. Those were kind of the 2 things. Like, I didn't necessarily think that like a team out there was going to give him like 3 years and 1.5 million each, but maybe somebody would give him like 3 times 1.25 or 2 times 1.5, something. Like, I thought he was just going to get more, like just more money, a little bit of stability.
Seems like so did he.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. It does feel like he's just one of those guys. It happens every year. There's like 3 or 4 guys who July 2nd comes and they haven't signed, and it's like, oh, well, now what? And then July 3rd happens, and then July 4th happens, and then all of a sudden it's August 1st, and you're like, wait a minute, why isn't that guy? Yeah. Sometimes the teams literally just kind of finish their July budgets, and then they're just like, all right, we'll grab a couple guys before camp, and then. Yeah. But I don't know, and I also don't think. I mean, he doesn't have to play on the third line. I could definitely see. I'm just trying to do in my head. If they add one more forward before the playoffs and everybody's healthy, he probably ends up on the 4th line even. I don't know. I think part of the thing with him is a lot of people probably want them to get bigger and meaner. Like, that's like the thing. If you're gonna point to like the one thing that they need to do, they could get a little bit bigger on defense. Although they added Brent Burns, he's pretty big. But going into a playoff series with, Malinsky and Makar and Gerard, and Devon's not great big either. But anyway, just having the size of the defense core, again, it wasn't an issue in 2022, but maybe it is now. And also like the bottom 6 is just like, if they could just add, a couple of guys who are big and mean like the Panthers have, like, I'm sure that would make everybody happy. But like, they don't all have to be that way. You don't need 7 of those guys. You just need 1 or 2. And so like, and there really wasn't a lot of that out there in July. Like, there were no like bottom 6 forwards out there where I was like, oh man, that could be like he could be name a bottom 6 guy for the Panthers of the Avs. There just wasn't a lot of that out there. Like Milan Lucic just signed a tryout with the Blues. He hasn't played in like 2 years, right? So I'm certainly not saying like I don't know. I think that he'll, they began the offseason with not enough forwards, right? Like, especially with Logan Hurt, and bringing back a guy that, and look, people have, from the outside, people have things that they fault Jared for. I think one of the more like rational / internal criticisms is that it's hard to gain his trust
Yeah.
Like it's hard for the kid. They cycled through like 50 guys last year. Part of it was maybe because those guys from the Eagles weren't good enough, but also maybe it was just because it's really hard to like get on the good side of Jared like Ivan did for 40 games or whatever. So you're just having a guy that he's like, that's just one more guy that he's he's going to put him out there. He's not going to worry about him. He's not going to score 16 goals again probably, but
Right.
if he just kind of, I just look at him as like, would you? I don't know. I don't think the 500,000. Like if you could have signed him for 775 again, that would have been great. But he did score 16 goals last year and has earned something of a raise. So yeah.
I just saw a bunch of people that first day they were like 1.25 for a 16 goal score. What a steal! It's like I wouldn't bank on that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't bank on that back-to-back years.
I think if they go into, I think if it's like game 1 of the playoffs and
he's on your third line again.
Then maybe you're like, okay, well, maybe there's like 2 or 3 injuries or maybe something. But like, I'm trying to think like, the top 6 feels pretty set, and then right now the third line is probably Colton, Drury, and it could be Kivy, it could be Kelly. Should be probably could
That's
be Logan.
a November third line.
Could be Logan. Yeah. Could be Logan. Yeah. Again, right. You're right. Like it was an interesting thing. Like where, to me, it was always like whether it was intentional or not. It was always kind of Jared's like subtle like get me some dudes. Whenever he kept comparing the third line to the 2022 fourth line. Right, and he was doing it complimentary. Like he was like, these guys really remind me of our fourth line in 2022, but it was like, but Jared, that's your third line right now. And then eventually, by the playoffs, the time the playoffs happened, it was the fourth line after they did all the shuffling. So, like I could definitely see, it was, and so I could definitely see basically the same thing. I could see Kivy playing 67 games on the third line this year, and then being on the fourth line for game 1.
But what does that do to the KLAOC jury line?
Well,
who are you killing?
who am I killing?
MFK, Colorado Avalanche.
Well, we don't know.
North
We
line.
also don't even know. I mean, look, if they're gonna do, if everybody stays healthy, which will never happen. But if everything stays not like break glass curtain, if they could just stick with generally what they've got now, and they have a decent amount of cap space accrued by the deadline, they just add guys and don't have to worry about. But the other thing that they have still is, they still have Ross Colton, who could be moved to get a real third line center or a upgrade on defense, or he's just in that right, like the contract makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's good if he's the third line guy, but there might be a way to move him anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry. So I mean, I would say there is still a world where the third line could be Colton, new trade guy, and somebody, Kivy, whoever, and then your fourth line is those 3 guys again. Right?
Yeah.
I support it.
All right. I don't have much more for you, but I do have one last question, and I think I know where you're going to go with this. It's a name that I've floated for a PTO just to see if it makes sense. He wants to come back. Kuzi? Denny Kuznetsov?
Oh.
Now, I do wonder about putting him and Val on the same team. Are you worried about that? But does this guy have anything left in the tank? That's just a name that we've at least entertained
Yeah.
if you got him on a 1-by-1, show me that you can play in this league again type deal.
I don't know. I mean, my first thought is, oh man, Jared would hate him. But I don't know. I guess it could be. You'd really have to like get him in here and see where his I will say that like near the end, like he is maybe the number one reason why Alex Ovechkin has a Stanley Cup. Yeah. Like they were basically the first half of Alex's career, they could not find another center to play behind Nick Backstrom. They waited like 4 years for him. Like they thought he was only going to take 2 to come over. He took 4. George McPhee probably lost his job because Kuznetsov didn't show up on time, and they just couldn't find a number 2C. Kuzi shows up. He's great. They win the cup.
Yeah.
He's also a huge reason why they only have 1. because they gave him the money, and like my friends in DC who like loved the guy as he was doing this weren't real big fans as he was doing this, right? And so I think the biggest thing for him, I mean, he's fun to watch. He's amazing. He's amazing with the puck. Would he really fit as like a third line center?
Right.
Is he going to play any kind of defense that would work in that role? I don't know. I mean, it would be. I guess in the same way that people were intrigued by the idea of Jonathan Taves, like just lining up, just lining up the names of those three guys. It would be interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I would actually be like, it would be intriguing to see it, but I could certainly. It's not hard to make the case for the Avs brass why they wouldn't want to do it. Just for a number of reasons.
For sure. that was just a name, like I said, I've lobbed it at Megan enough times that I was like, well, I know Corey covered him, so I thought that'd be a good one.
He's funny, and he's just,
I think that's why I say yes, is because he was launching pucks at our heads when we were doing a hit at the
down at the glass.
morning skate, down at
really?
the glass. And I was like, you know what? He seems fun. Yeah, no problem.
But the guys, honestly, like, I think I mentioned them in a story the other day. I'm surprised that Ryan Suter is still out there. I don't know what his deal is. If he's not sure if he wants to play or like. And again, do you really want to have like the two oldest defensemen in the league on your roster? But he was pretty good last year, and can certainly play in a small role. And then the other one is I'm not really sure what the deal is with John Merrill either. Like he's never been
still out there.
Yeah, he's still out there. He's never been anything more than like a 5 or a 6 probably, but he's like 6'3". He's pretty physical. He's pretty good on the penalty kill. Like, it just seems like you'd want to have him. There just should be like 10 teams that should want him to be like their number 7 or possibly the number 6.
Well, and like Eric Johnson is still in town and he's skating a lot. That's another righty.
Yeah, I just don't.
I don't.
You're not going to carry 5
righties and 2 lefties.
Right.
So. Megan, do you got anything else?
All right, one question. What's one aspect of the Avs that people aren't talking about enough going into next year?
One aspect that people are not talking about enough. That's a good question. I don't know. People probably are talking about the fact that they have like real goaltending for the whole season, or just like settled goaltending. That's probably not it. I think honestly, maybe just to me the thing is like going into last year was such a mess because Luchuskin was suspended, the guys got hurt, Drouin got hurt opening night, the goalies fell apart. I think there's like a notion that things are falling apart a little bit because of how the season collapsed last year. Whereas I feel like there's a possibility that they're just going to come out and start the season like 10-2.
Yeah.
Or 12-5 or something. And it's just going to be like, oh, no, yeah, they're still good. Like, that like there's going to be this like recognition that like, oh, yeah, and then everybody will nitpick like, well, who's the third center going to be? What are they going to do with these 4 righties, et cetera? But I do think just generally, it's weird. I think this happens in places. It definitely happened at one point in Washington for me, where it feels like the rest of the hockey universe looks at the Avs a different way than the local people do. Mm-hmm. I think like there's like the local people have gone this way. Sometimes you have teams like the ones in New York where it's like their fans are always we're the best. Why you don't you said we're only going to win 5-2 tonight. You suck. But whereas here it's the opposite. I do think there's like the level of like confidence and the fact that they're actually going to be good this year should probably be a little bit higher. Now, whether or not they can actually win again, and if you're basically basing everything on whether or not they win the last game of the year or not, then that's just a different way to look at it.
So we're going to wind today's show down. Corey, we so appreciate you coming by. But we were talking yesterday in the office about like, oh man, we have Corey and we got to talk to him about his food recommendations and what's the best thing he's eating this summer. And then wouldn't you know it, you throw us a bone and go out and announce that you're launching an NHL food journal. So I guess first just tell us about the journal. And I got to give you some credit. Blake, our boss, who you've met, had to go to Dallas for something a couple weeks ago for a shoot, and he's like, "Oh, I want to get the best barbecue. And I said, bro, Ferris Wheelers."
Yeah.
We went to all the big ones. I said, I think that was my favorite. He's like, I've never even heard of it. I said, I hadn't either, but guess who had? Corey. And he's the one that told us to go there. So, food journal for.
Well, I think it's just going to be like I do those like avalanche journals on Sundays.
Yep.
Not every Sunday, especially in the off season, but during the season, most Sundays. And so I had told my boss, I don't know, 3 or 4 days ago, I was like, look, before the season starts, and actually I'm going on vacation for one more time. So like something to run while I'm on vacation. I was like, I'm going to do a Sunday story on just like, here's the Av schedule and here's like my favorite places to eat in all those cities. Mm-hmm. A few other people do them around the league. The Athletic did a great big one in 2019. It's like thousands and thousands and thousands of words. And there was like probably 4 or 5 of us that were like, everybody on staff could have participated.
Yeah.
Obviously I was very excited about it, and like me and Marc-Antoine Godin, who's in Montreal, and a couple other guys. Me and Mark especially were like really into it. And if you read that story, if you go back and find that, there's a lot of said Corey Masisak in there, or said Marc-Antoine Godin. So there was some recommendations in there, but I think I'm going to try to do, assuming my boss doesn't look at it whenever I turn it in later today and be like, this is way too long, is basically every, like starting with Los Angeles and then Buffalo and then just going down the schedule, something close to the arena, and then something that's like worth the trip, right? Like, so something that's like not by the arena, but it's like, so, there's a couple of places like Chicago. I just did Chicago last night, and like, there's a couple of okay places right by the arena, but like, it's such an amazing food. So so there's a couple places where I stretch the like next to the arena. Yeah. It's like, maybe this is like a 25-minute walk from the arena or a 10-minute ride or whatever. But so
it like we walk everywhere in those cities, so it's like if it's walking distance for us, it's close to the arena.
And for me, I have to really, because there was I think I had a mailbag question either last year or the year before that was like, could you rank the NHL cities based on like the food, and I did it like in tiers, and I did it. I wanted it to do like within walking distance of the arena, and then not within walking. But like for me, I lived in New York for almost 11 years. If you live in Manhattan, you just like, to me, it's not. I have walked from my house, which is just south of 285, and like the 285 in front of, I live in South Denver, right? I've walked from there to Cherry Creek before. It's like, it's not, I mean, if the weather's nice here, people, you say that and like, wait, everybody hikes here. It's not, if I told you I went on a 23-mile hike yesterday, you'd be like, oh, cool.
Wow.
But like walking from South Denver to Cherry Creek somehow makes me an alien. But to that point, like, I don't know, like in Chicago, I walk from the United Center back to downtown after morning skates if the weather's nice, just to get just a good exercise to me.
It's nice to see the city too.
And there were times when you wouldn't have done that in Chicago, but now it's actually totally fine there. But anyway, so I do, whenever I say near the arena, I got to be like, oh wait, you know what? Somebody's not going to walk 37 minutes from the arena in Toronto to go get good food. Yeah. I will. That's my thing. So I tried to find something like a little bit closer to the arena, right? But
all right, this is the last one. Best thing you've had to eat this summer in the off season. So I think you recently did an Instagram. I was scrolling through all your.
Yeah, and I actually need to update. I haven't really done a whole lot of that this summer. I would say.
Sorry, that's a tough question.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to keep it to Colorado too. I took a couple of my friends to Cart Driver in Rhino, the pizza place.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely
about the pizza there.
Definitely my favorite pizza place in Denver. And not to
What's
make
it called?
Cart Driver.
Cart Driver.
It's nearby.
I haven't been there.
It's in Rhino. Yeah,
Okay.
it's like it's in one of those. There's that little area where there's like, it kind of looks like old shipping carts.
Okay, yeah.
Crates, carts. Yeah. Anyway, and then probably, not to make this entirely about pizza, but I had a secret stash in Crested Butte.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty relatively famous for
I haven't
people
been
who
there,
pay attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it was one of the places that Ryan Bolding had told me about, our Crested Butte, expert, and it was that's the best. That's the best pizza I've had, like in the Mountain Time Zone.
Really?
It's like not traditional in any way, shape.
Is it mountain style pizza?
I'm
really know
still
what
struggling
that
to figure out
means.
what mountain style. But I know you guys have your pizza here, but
I don't really know what it means.
it's yeah, it kind of is. It's just the at Secret Stash. It's like they just have like crazy. I had like the Thai one. So it has like all kinds of Thai flavors on it. And it was just crazy. But like Cart Driver is just Neapolitan Italian. Yeah, the thing.
Right.
The thing.
Wood
across-
fired
the
or
thing.
it looked really
It
good.
was really good. So
Did you see? I can't remember who it was. There was some big publication that put out a list of the ranking each state for pizza, and Colorado came in at number 1.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I remember, I'm not saying there isn't good pizza here, but I just thought that was interesting.
yeah, I don't know really how people do those rankings. And I mean, I think I might have mentioned this. I'm sure I've mentioned it to you in person before, but like, I lived in New York City. I am both very pro the pizza in New York City and also anti the way people act about their pizza in New York City.
Totally.
Like I think the concentration of great pizza places in New York City is unmatched anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like every block, every neighborhood has 2 or 3 pizza places that would be the best pizza place in name any other city in the country except for Chicago. And so that's cool, but like it's not like the best pizza in the world. You can't have any other pizza like that. Like there's great pizza everywhere, you know. And there is great pizza here. And like even randomly, the other again, this is not supposed to all be about pizza. When my friends and I were in Montana, we were in a small town in Montana. It's called Big Timber. It's like an hour east of Bozeman, and there's a pizza place there that was just out of this world. I was like, I told the girl, I was like, you could drop this place in the West Village tomorrow, and you'd do great.
Damn.
Like it was phenomenal pizza. So yeah, you know.
My parents are from New York. Mom is from New York. Dad's from New Jersey, actually. But they're snobs about New York style pizza. But they found it in Colorado. There's a place I know in Denver and a place down in the Springs that they go to because it's authentic. So
What's the place in Denver?
I won't tell anybody.
Oh, interesting.
No,
All
I'm
right.
just kidding. It's called Famous Jay's. It's pretty good.
Famous J's.
It's
Damn.
pretty good.
I'm a big Sliceworks guy, and I didn't realize that was Pete DeBoer's place.
Oh,
He was, like,
yeah,
always
yeah.
telling people.
You definitely got some love during the playoffs, eh?
Yeah. Well, because we live downtown, my wife and I, we walked over there a couple times a week, and so when he did that, press, and I think it was Kostanikis who did that article on it. I was like, oh, damn, that's like my pizza place. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, Corey, we really appreciate it, man. We are, I think like 2.5 weeks out from getting this going, and we're going to be seeing you every day.
The golf tournament on Monday, and then
Yeah.
I guess the rookie tournament before that.
Yeah. Yep. So, should be fun, man. But we're looking forward to it, and glad we got to see you a little bit early.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for stopping by. Corey Masisak, Denver Post. Thanks for stopping by.